family, I wanted to go over some ways to look at a monologue. Um, since that's one of the things that you guys might want to work on right now if you are interested in pursuing theater is working on a monologue. I thought it would be nice to kind of take some time to kind of dissect how you work on a monologue. So the first thing, I just picked this off of like free monologues for teens, first Google results. So is it the best monologue I've ever read? No. But will it work for our purposes today? Of course. So the first thing that we want to see is the genre. Is it dramatic? Is it comedic? Because that's going to definitely change how you read the thing. I would read it over a couple of times before you start trying to decide what to do. So this one, I'll just show you, is a daughter delivers an honest eulogy at her father's funeral. Um, although you could change it to son. And when you're looking at a monologue, you want to look at the places where you want to take a beat, meaning take a short pause for effect. You want to think about the times you want to slow down and really rest in those moments, and when you want to speed up and make those moments feel a little bit more um, important. And honestly, I would play with this as you're perfecting a monologue of what is what sounds best, first of all, but also like what is the emotion that you're trying to get? Is it surprise? Is it anger? So let's read through this one. So, wow, a lot of people here today, no pressure, right? Now we know this is a serious monologue, but that doesn't mean that we can't have a little bit of humor. So we could read it with the periods and have a little bit of pause there. Wow, a lot of people here today, no pressure, right? And so we can really take each of these lines and really think about what is the emotion. Like, is this like, wow, so many people came to my dad's funeral? Or is it like a wow of getting up in front of people and kind of having that nervous reaction? Same with a lot of people here today. Once we've read it through, we know that this character doesn't like her father, so she's probably not happy about this. She's probably pretty upset about it. So a lot of people here today, that might be more of a nervous reaction or even a bitter reaction. And then the no pressure rate, you can think of it as, again, that nervous sort of energy before you're going up in front of people. So even though it's a serious monologue, it doesn't necessarily need to be death and darkness the whole time. And you can inflect some of that nervous energy into like kind of laughing, as you say, like a lot of people here today, right? That kind of has that extra added effect of nervousness versus just a lot of people here today, right? It gives that a little bit deeper of an idea. Now, we've only looked at 3 sentences. So let's keep going. They say that the worst things happen to the best people, but I disagree. So this comma here might be a good place to pause. Why? Because we're taking kind of what's expected and we're turning it on its head. They say the worst things happen to the best people, but I disagree. Taking that beat, taking that pause there really sets that tension up with the disagreement of what's happening, right? We're at a funeral, we don't know what's going to be said. We assume it's going to be a positive thing. My father was a great person, at least to most of you. He told stories and did impressions every chance he got. I hated them. Again, this short little spot here gives us a chance to kind of pause and let it sink in. I hated them. Beat. They were never accurate anyway. His impression of Daniel Day-Lewis doing Abraham Lincoln sounded more like Al Pacino. At this point in this monologue, we still don't know what the character's actual issues are with their father. It could be just like they did terrible impressions. And so this could still be kind of a funny story. We could still be kind of working through that nervous energy. And then this is kind of where this turn comes. So we're looking for that turn of like, when do we really get to what this character is trying to say? And we'll have another sort of turn near the end. So those of you who were his students knew a caring, dedicated, and hilarious teacher. Sounds like a great guy. It's too bad I never got to meet him. The man I knew was short-tempered, distant, and narcissistic. That might be a good place to speed up. We're starting to get that emotion and anger that would cause someone to speed up what they're saying, to deliver it, right? We're talking to a group of people. This is a speech at this point, right? It's a eulogy, so it's not talking one-on-one to someone. It's literally talking in front of the whole group. So the day I found out he was going to die, I was unfazed. That's bad, I know. I think this is an interesting thing because it's really taking them sort of out of the anger. They're trying to reflect on it and see that they've done something wrong, but they can't. Sounds like a horrible thing to say. Oh, wait. The day I found out he was going to die, I was unfazed. That's bad. I know. Right? We can have that moment of like, probably at this point, people are staring at them and are like, what is happening? And this gives that character a chance to be like, look, just keep going. Sounds like a horrible thing to say, but he didn't love me. He'd ignore me when I asked him questions or shared my opinion. I was his daughter. And here we go. Now we have kind of the reason why this character really doesn't like it. And this is where we're going to start building that anger. Now, if we had started with that anger up here, we'd have nowhere to go. But we start with kind of the nervous energy. We start with sort of like this kind of throwaway thing about the lines about his impressions. And we sort of build to a more like, what is the actual thing that's bothering them? So I'm going to go ahead and read this all the way through, kind of how I envisioned it being read. Again, I didn't write this. I just found it. I've read it through twice now. So I'll go ahead and read it to you. Wow. A lot of people here today. No pressure, right? They say the worst things happen to the best people, but I disagree. My father was a great person, at least to most of you. He told stories and did impressions every chance he got. I hated them. They were never accurate anyway. His impression of Daniel Day-Lewis doing Abraham Lincoln sounded more like Al Pacino. Those of you who were his students knew a caring, dedicated, and hilarious teacher. Sounds like a great guy. It's too bad I never got to meet him. The man I knew was short-tempered, distant, and narcissistic. The day I found out he was going to die, I was unfazed. That's bad, I know. Sounds like a horrible thing to say, but he didn't love me. He'd ignore me when I asked him questions or shared my opinion. I was his daughter. He was supposed to care. His work occupied all his time. I didn't see why it mattered so much. He was just a teacher, and they were just students. I was the one who deserved his time. I was the one who deserved his care. I was his daughter. As I watched him fade away in a hospital bed, I thought, for once, just once, I would have his undivided attention. I didn't. Even in the last days of his life, all he could think about was you, his bloody students. He wrote some of you letters. They weren't just any farewell letters, though. He wrote you to tell you what you meant to him. I never got any letter. It's selfish, really, I know, but I deserved one. I did. I thought it was okay, though. I thought he would surely change in the end. He was dying. Maybe things would be different. He was going to tell me that he loved me, and he would mean it. He never did. I read some of the letters he wrote. One was to a boy named Jacob. Maybe you're here today. My dad told Jacob that he made him see the world in a different way. Opened up his eyes, he said. Shifted his perspective, he said. My dad was a phony and a liar, and I hated him. As my father took his last breath, I cried. But I wasn't sad. I was angry. Where is my letter? I deserved it, didn't I? I was his daughter. But he was dead. You can all go on and mourn the loss of a great man. But I knew the real Albert Scott. He had you all fooled. Okay, so do you guys see or hear how those different beats work in there to kind of build and increase tension? How it's not anger the whole time. Some of it is kind of a desperation. Some of it's kind of sadness. Some of it's kind of jealousy. But if you want to play with this one, great. And I will try to get a comedy one that I like, and we can do this again. All right, bye guys.